Welcome into episode 23, the Jordan Pod of Around the Felt. I am your host, Colin Tong, fresh off a big Giants win, fresh off a wheel spin win, fresh off Around the Felt parlay win, fresh off Reagan's underdog win, and fresh off a Drox lock win. Reagan, What a week for Around the Felt.
Amazing week for the Felt. Amazing. We went up 30 units this week. I mean, it helps.
Who tailed?
It helps when you hit a 12-unit parlay and you hit a 12-unit wheel spin, so right off the bat, that's huge. But, I mean, for those of you out there maybe doubting us a little bit, sucks to be you. For those of you that have been tailing us and doing it just every week, placing it. Now, if you've been doing the wheel every week, you're up 4 units. If you've been taking our parlay every week, you're up 8 units. So, I mean, you just got to keep tailing us. And now you're playing with house money. So, with the wheel, I mean, that's not a lot. It's all luck. But, I mean, if you've been trusting it, then it could just pay it out.
Just pay it out, man. Just pay it out. I hope you guys can afford to buy a new house, maybe a new car with your winnings.
I know, I just put a huge down payment on my first house.
Yeah,
for a while, me and my kids were out on the street, so.
Yeah, I was walking to work. Now I can drive.
Yeah, I was walking. Great. Now I'm riding in style. I was just able to buy a nice little beater car.
Yeah, so it was a good week for us. We'll start with some news. Not a ton of news that doesn't have to do just with the games themselves. Pretty healthy week for the league in general, which you love to see.
And that helps when there's 3 less games, too.
Yep. One of the only injuries was Deshaun Watson came back and exited in the first half against the Colts. I believe he had negative fantasy points.
Oh, he did have negative fantasy. He did have negative fantasy points, so if you started him, you were happy. You would have been better off just not putting anyone in that quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, if you haven't checked out my blog that I wrote about a month ago, that the worst contract in NFL history just seems to keep getting worse.
Yeah, and apparently P.J. Walker just wins.
Yeah.
Because as soon as he came in, the team looked a lot better on top of that.
Yeah, they did score a lot of points. Bill Belichick, people have been starting to say he's on the hot seat. Could it be an outright firing, which I never bought into that. He's going to step out on his own terms. Him and Robert Kraft have that relationship. But just reported he signed a lucrative multi-year deal in the offseason with the Pats, and he will not be fired this season. What do you think of that, Reagan?
I mean, that doesn't really surprise me because the whole narrative of him getting fired was all the national media, you know? It wasn't like we hadn't heard any reports from the Patriots that they were going to let him go or him, so it was everyone else saying he has to go. And clearly Robert Kraft was like, hey, yeah, I'll stick with the guy who won me 6 Super Bowls. So, I mean, it's not like there's many better options out there. I mean, he's probably the best coach of all time, you would think.
Yeah, I mean, he also picked up his 300th win yesterday with a big win over the Bills. Not a lot of people expected that one. I believe they were 9.5-point dogs, so big win for Bill and the boys. I'm sure Paul is very excited on this Monday. All right, Joe, what do we got for questions?
All right, as I'm loading them up right now.
Oh, also, while he's doing that, I do want to... Myles Garrett also had got his 82nd sack yesterday, which is the most in history, going into age 28.
Wow. So yeah, he was a beast yesterday. Cool. He had that blocked field goal as well.
So, I mean, he's been the most efficient sacker so far. So, because obviously it's a huge debate between him, Parsons, Bosa, and Watt right now.
Yeah,
who the best edge rusher is, the big 4,
Yeah.
All right, start off. We got Churf. Should the Eagles be worried about Jalen Hurts' turnovers this season?
I mean, yeah, long term, I would say yes, they should be worried about it. I mean, it's hard to say like they should be super worried when they're 6-1. But when you get to the playoffs, it's not. When you're playing better competitions, it's hard to come back in those games when he's turning it over. I mean, last night the pick wasn't great because it turned into a pick 6, and the fumble, he just held on to it too long. So those were 2 crucial turnovers that could have been a game changer. I mean, he lost them the game against the Jets. I mean, obviously it's more than just him, but it doesn't help. So I think that you definitely got to worry about that because last year he wasn't turning it over at all, and this year he's coming in as one of the biggest turnover guys in the league.
Yeah, it's not good that he has more turnovers already this year than he did all of last year. Never a positive sign for your quarterback. But on the same side of it, like they are 6-1, and they just beat a really good Dolphins team that a lot of people were anointing as the best team in the league. So, I mean, you are slightly concerned, but he does have a talent around him right now that they can overcome it. But like Reagan said, in the playoffs, if you lose a turnover battle, it's very difficult to win, especially if you have to play on the road in San Francisco. Or
I was going to say, you run into that San Francisco team, and Purdy's pretty smart with the ball, so if you turn it over 3 times and give McCaffrey and Purdy and those guys the ball, it's not going to be good.
No, it's not going to be good.
All right, next we got a question from Garrett Loescher.
Hey, Garrett.
Hey, Garrett. Good job on the graphic.
Barry.
If Tyreek Hill breaks the receiving record, should he be an MVP favorite?
Oh, I love that question because I just wrote an article the other day on ranking my top 10 MVP candidates, which if I had reread it today, there would be some movement. I did mention that I had Hill at 8th, I believe, or now 7th. Now, if he were to eclipse 2,000 yards, he'd be the first receiver to ever do that. But if that were to happen, Tua is most likely going to win the MVP, or he'd be higher up in the voting. That's just how it would work. It's a quarterback award.
I don't think we're ever going to see a non-quarterback win the MVP again, unless they change like the rules about it.
Well, because the last non-quarterback, I believe, was Peterson in 2012, correct?
Yeah, and it's just it's just such a quarter. I don't know. I hate it. I mean, I'd say he'd be guaranteed the Offensive Player of the Year, but you can't count out McCaffrey. He's having a hell of a year too. So I mean, I think it comes down to those two, especially now that Jefferson's like completely out of that race with his injury.
Dude, the Offensive Player of the Year has kind of become like the non-quarterback MVP.
Yeah.
That's what it is. And like if Cooper Kupp after his Triple Crown season in 2021 didn't win MVP, even if Hill to eclipse 2,000 yards, I don't see how he would win it more so than his quarterback.
Yeah.
Okay, next from him, he said, who would you rather have on your team, T.J. Watt or Myles Garrett?
Wow.
Well, we're kind of just talking about that.
Yeah, T.J. Watt just dropped into coverage yesterday and had a pick. The guy's a beast.
I lean Watt because it seems like Watt, and this could be a casual take, but I feel like every time I watch the two teams, it seems like at the end of the game, Watt's always getting that big play at the end of the game where he's strip sacking somebody, and the fact that he can drop back in coverage a little bit is also nice, but it just seems like every time I watch the Steelers, come fourth quarter, the Steelers need a big play. Watts always makes that big play.
Yeah, you can't go wrong. Pick your poison. Watt he's tied for the most sacks in a single season with 22.5. So although Garrett's gotten up there, high teens, he hasn't gotten to that point. I also just love the way T.J. Watt plays. I think he's a fucking gamer. He gets fired up, and I think that's contagious throughout the entire defense. Where I'm not saying Garrett doesn't do that, but I just prefer Watt's play style. If I was a Steelers fan, he'd be probably my favorite player.
And I'd say the Browns Garrett has slightly more talent around him because they both do have good defenses, but I'd say there's slightly more better players around Garrett.
Garrett's probably the biggest athletic freak. Just how big he is, how strong he is, how fast he is. He's more athletic than Watt, I'd say, but I just like the way Watt plays. I like his motor.
Mm-hmm.
Are the Ravens, this is from Jared Crampton, are the Ravens that good, or are the Lions frauds?
So, we were on opposite sides of the coin for this one. It just seems like every time a new team gets up in that top echelon of the NFL and all the national media starts gassing them up, there's a classic letdown game. So, I was all over the Ravens because, I figured everyone was going to be taking the Lions as 3-point dogs. Baltimore, they played up to what they're expected to play, and Lamar was saying that. He's it's one win, it's one game, which you love to see from your leader, and this is how we expect to play week in and week out. They realistically should not have lost to the Colts. Both games they've lost, they basically blew it.
Yeah.
So I think the Ravens are a legit team. I think the Lions just had a bad week. It's the NFL, anything can happen. I think the Lions are still a legit team as well, but I don't think they're top tier of teams. I still don't think the Ravens are either. I think they're both in that B tier.
Yeah, I agree on that because we have seen the Ravens play down to their competition and then up to their competition. I wouldn't be shocked this week if it's in the fourth quarter and it's a one-score game this week between the Ravens and Cardinals because that's just how the Ravens have played this year. And I think with the Lions, like you said, I think it's just kind of an outlier game. This is the first time they've gotten exposed. So, and also you're missing a guy like David Montgomery, which I'm not saying he's a stud, but this offense does look a lot different when he's the running back. Gibbs didn't have a bad game. He didn't really get a ton of opportunities. He had the big touchdown run, but that was in garbage time. But I think when the Lions don't have their full health, and Goff kind of got exposed too, and the guy I was hyping up for MVP.
Yeah.
Not looking so good, but it's a long season. We still got 10 more games.
And also that Ravens over under 9.5 looks a little bit better for me now after that win. They sit at 5-2 atop the AFC North.
Yeah.
I do like that. Also, one thing that a lot of people don't think about, there's only 3 players active that have won an MVP. Mahomes, Rodgers, and Lamar. So if Lamar plays like he did yesterday, I had him, I think, 6th in my MVP rankings, but he just outdueled Goff. So you got to think he moves up there. If the Ravens win the North and are a very high seed in the AFC, he's certainly going to be in the conversation for MVP.
No, definitely. Especially if they win that division, because right now that could be, I'd say that's probably the best division in football right now.
Yeah, but then you have a guy like Mahomes. The Chiefs just keep winning. They're 6-1. I actually saw the Chiefs' defense is 3rd in the league in points per game allowed. Not a lot of people think that because that's just how well that they've drafted throughout the few years. Their only guy they're really paying heavy is Chris Jones, and they have a lot of young guys like Karlaftis, McDuffie, Johnson. They have good guys that are young. And credit to
Bolton.
Steve Bolton, but he dislocated his wrist yesterday. I believe he could be out for a little bit. But credit to Steve Spagnuolo and that defense, because if you have a defense allowing teams to under 20 points, you got to think with Patrick Mahomes. I mean, it's going to go through Arrowhead again this season. They're probably going to be the 1 seed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, by the looks of it, yeah. I'd say so. Especially with the Dolphins and Bills beating up on each other. I don't think either of those teams are going to be able to... I think that's going to end up being a split, but we'll see.
Yeah.
It's cuffing season, boys. What backup running back do you think is one injury away from being a league winner? Think Nick Chubb with Carlos Hyde, James Robinson with Leonard Fournette, James Conner with Lev Bell.
Wow. I fucking love it, Jared. That's a great question. I'm going to go with Zach Charbonnet for the Seahawks. Just because Pete Carroll wants to run the football. Walker's played really well. I believe he's like RB7 right now at this point, and he doesn't even offer any PPR upside. Walker's like a between the tackles type of runner. He has a big play threat. If Walker were to go down, Charbonnet's like not even cracking the lineup right now, which is weird because you just took him in the second round after you took Walker in the second round. Questionable team building wise, but if you stack Charbonnet and Walker goes down, I think he's going to get 20 carries a game and has an opportunity to score a lot of touchdowns.
Yeah, for me, a guy I'm looking at is Tajay Spears right now because he's already the receiving back for the Titans.
He gets a decent amount of touches.
And he's already getting a decent amount of touches, so I think if Derrick Henry is to miss time, which I'm not saying he's going to get injured or anything, but that's the whole point of the cuffing thing is if the starter goes down or gets traded, which I wouldn't even be shocked if
it's
the
being
Titans
floated
lose
around, they
another,
might trade him.
If they lose another game or two and Tannehill's out and they're just like, let's get younger, let's get some of these big contracts off the books, you'd imagine Tajay Spears steps right into that 3-down role.
I like that. Because
even if he's like 70%, I'd like that. I mean, clearly he brings some juice to that offense that Henry doesn't have in the receiving game. So.
Yes, and also, but if they were to trade Henry, I think this offense is going to be absolutely terrible. If you trade Henry, it's almost like, okay, are we going with Willis or Levis the rest of the year because starting 35-year-old Tannehill on the last year of his deal really doesn't make sense.
But that would be it'd just be like he's
just
getting
pure
a lot of volume
just
and you
like,
see how electric
like,
the guy can be.
It almost reminded me a bit of like Rachaad White last year, where he was valuable in PPR because he had a lot of catches, even though he didn't score a lot because the offense wasn't ideal.
Yeah, and you could say like a guy like Jaylen Warren, but I don't think it really matters in that offense. Like that Steelers offense isn't good already, so
yeah.
I don't know. At least right now the Titans offense seems to be decent with Derrick Henry, but that could change a lot if he's gone. So
you could even go to Philly, if Swift were to go out, which he's gotten hurt.
But I don't even know because
Kenneth Gainwell's probably.
You think Penny would be involved too?
But Penny was like a healthy scratch, where Gainwell was starting at the beginning of the year before he got hurt, and then Swift kind of overtook it.
Yeah. The only reason I don't like that Philly thing is because Hurts just gets so many goal line touchdowns.
He does.
Like we saw last night, most teams that's like, oh, that's a walk-in touchdown for my running back. But for the Eagles, they don't even need to do that.
No, that's a good point. It's a good point.
All right, and last we got Austin.
Hey,
A
Austin.
couple questions here.
Hey, Austin.
Hi, Austin.
Who are your guys' mid-season awards? MVP, Offensive Rookie of the Year, Defensive Rookie of the Year, and the Offensive Player and Defensive Player. So just go quickly.
All right,
let's start with MVP. Well, right now, as of today, Mahomes has overtaken the lead at plus 230, and I believe Tua is plus 460. I had Tua on Friday as my favorite. They obviously lost to the Eagles yesterday. I guess Mahomes just had his best game of the year, but we mentioned earlier
how good the defense is,
Yeah, how good the defense is, but how Mahomes was still playing really good football, just not up to Mahomes' level, but he was almost that co-favorite because of who he is.
Yeah.
Now Mahomes is the betting favorite.
I'll probably say Tua, to be honest. Just because
go with Tua?
Just because he hasn't been an MVP yet, and his numbers are better than Mahomes, and also his defense hasn't been playing at that level. So I lean Tua just because he hasn't won it before.
Yeah,
and also
tough.
I think his numbers are going to stay there throughout the season, where Mahomes will be able to coast through a lot of games as it goes on.
Yeah, that's fair. My only thing, projecting it for the rest of the way is it seems like the AFC will run through Arrowhead. If the Chiefs go 13-4, the Dolphins go 11-6, right? The Dolphins could be the 2 seed.
But it's voter fatigue.
Chiefs could be the 1. Yeah, there's always voter fatigue.
I think they always give it to the best player on the best team, so it's usually that 1 seed or whatever.
Yeah. The only reason I say it wouldn't be Mahomes is because they're going to give him his 3rd MVP versus a guy with Tua, even if they end up winning. If they win that division. Because you also got to look, the Dolphins are in a much tougher division than the Chiefs right now. Like, the Broncos and Raiders aren't great football teams, and honestly, the Chargers have proven they're not a great football team.
The Chargers, man, that's just such a frustrating team. If I was a Chargers fan, I'd be pissed because they have so much talent and they just find way to lose so many games.
Except for that one lady.
Yeah, they gotta hire people. Like,
Yeah,
NFL, hire me, I'll go. Pay me to go
plan.
to Charger games, I'll go.
Did you see? What the fuck was that?
They had her making all the faces.
Yeah.
She was like,
Yeah, did you see she was wearing a Buffalo Wild Wings hat? They sponsored her.
fuck, give my boy a sponsor.
Where's my sponsor? I just did the Blazing Challenge.
They gave you a free
Do
headband.
you guys think she
I got a headband,
she
yeah,
was set
it's
up? Like, do you think she was a real fan?
No,
I'd say maybe.
I think she was a real fan.
When I think NFL, I think her. That's just your typical
When we were
hard-nosed
watching
working
it, I was just like,
blue-collar
they
fan.
keep showing this one.
Well, I think what happened
Who is
was I think one of the cameramans just like found her, like, you know,
Going
a hidden
crazy.
gem in the haystack,
And they're like, we got.
and was like, wow, this lady's going
They
absolutely
probably
berserk.
do, yeah.
So they
probably
found
tell
her
them to
once,
look for that. For
put her
things
on,
like that.
put her on once, and then like it started going off on Twitter. Like everyone's like, oh, look at this lady. Then once
So the
they
Chargers
saw
know
that,
she's
like, all right,
with
keep
that.
showing her.
Well, they do that with Fireman Ed at the Jet games. It's freaking annoying, though.
Yeah.
She's a quitter.
Well, yeah. Didn't he say he wasn't like a Jets fan for a while?
Fireman
and
Ed
then
sucks. He
came
quit
back?
on us, and then everyone
Yeah.
like sucks him off. Like you go to a Jet game, they show him on
That's
every
a
third
super
down.
fan. That's a Jet super fan.
That's a Jet super
The
fan.
Giant
who
super
quit.
fan is license plate guy.
Right. Did he quit on the
The
Giants?
last- No,
he
did.
never
Yeah,
quits
so
on
I
the
take him
Giants.
any day.
He's like one of the most positive super fans I've seen.
Fireman
The
Ed's an
players
idiot.
like him too.
Yeah, he's boys with a lot of players.
Okay, offensive rookie of the year.
Oh man.
Super quick.
I'll say Puka.
Like you're like don't like go
S-
into it. Just say
CJ
it.
I'm
Stroud.
just saying Puka,
Okay,
yeah.
defensive
CJ
rookie of the
Stroud.
year.
Deontay Banks.
Yeah.
So Witherspoon.
Yeah, Deontay Banks.
Looking great. Offensive player of the year.
Or Carter, you could say too.
Offensive player of the year, Tyreek.
Yeah.
I'll go
That's a
McCaffrey.
good pick. All right, in defensive player of the year.
Ooh, that's tough.
I'd say just like one that's kind of out there that could happen. Hutchinson. Hutchinson's
Not
playing
bad,
really well.
yeah.
If he gets up to like 15 sack range, I could see Hutchinson. You could also TJ Watt.
I'm going
Garrett.
Watt because
Garrett.
he's like
Yeah.
he like single-handed or not single-handed, but he was a huge reason they won that Ravens game.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all.
Well, yeah, you saw what they looked like without him.
Yeah, exactly. That's why, like, right away, like, he's like, I know defensive players don't win MVPs, but like,
Mm-hmm.
he really is the MVP of that Steelers team because that defense
Except
is
for,
completely.
And even last year, they were really bad early on.
Well,
Watt
that's what
was
he was
out.
saying,
Watt
yeah.
came back, and then they went on that
Exactly,
run. And
yes.
people were like, "Oh, Kenny Pickett wins games." I'm like, "Well, look at his stats: 7 touchdowns, 7 picks." It was that fucking defense winning them games when Watt got back.
Hey, don't knock Kenny.
All right, if you were the Browns, would you trade for Kirk Cousins?
No, they can't.
I mean,
they can't.
Yeah.
if they can
They
make the money work, yeah, but I don't.
Well, they could make the money work. They have over $30 million in cap space because they backloaded all of Watson's deal. And I guess Kirk's a rental, so hypothetically,
Yeah, that's why I
you
would.
could.
I would. Yeah, I think that would be an upgrade.
But like,
But
that's
then you're
only if
basically saying we're done with Watson.
you can't get out of that contract.
So that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
And-
So then you're because then he's never gonna. It'll never work out then.
So see, this is the only way that would happen. Watson re-exited with the shoulder yesterday.
Yeah.
If they determine it's like an Anthony Richardson type of situation
just
where
shut
the
him
best
down.
thing long term is for him to get season-ending surgery,
Which I
then
think we might
okay.
be heading that direction.
then
by
you
the
could
looks of it.
take on Kirk for the rest of this year because he gives you a better chance to win than PJ Walker. And the way your roster's constructed, you're already all in this season, and
Yeah.
Kirk's a rental. So if they determine this week that Watson's out for the year, potentially, but also depends like what are you going to give up?
Also, Kirk would have to opt out of his.
Yeah.
or-
Does Kirk really want to get traded to Cleveland?
I don't think Kirk wants to get traded at all.
I don't
from the
think he
sounds
does
of it.
either. But like if you
And
are
honestly, the Vikings could still turn it around. I mean, they're 2-3. No, 2-4. The Lions are 4-2. So they or
I
no,
believe they're
or no, the
still.
Lions are 5-2.
I know the Giants are 2-5, and they're a game and a half back of the wild cards. The
That's what I'm
Vikings might
saying.
be a
Like the
game back
Vikings,
of
the
wild
Vikings
card,
win tonight. Like even if they lose tonight, they're still in the thick of things. So
which is crazy to think about in the NFC. It's just so
Yeah.
top heavy. You know, those wild card spots. That 7 spots can be wide open. I think it's going to be a team around 500.
yeah,
All right, and are the Lions still a legitimate contending team for the Super Bowl after a 38-6 loss to the Ravens?
I'd say yeah.
So they definitely.
hard for me to say after one
Yeah,
loss or not.
one loss you can't just like write a team off.
I think they're still the third best team. I think It's Eagles and Niners the top tier in the
Yeah.
NFC, and then it's Cowboys and Lions in my opinion.
That's what I was saying.
So-
Yeah, tier-wise, I agree.
So can they make a run in the NFC? Yeah, because you expect them to be at least in the divisional round, and then it's like, okay,
Yeah,
can you
because
beat one of the big dogs?
They're
on
gonna
the
end
road?
up. They're gonna have a home playoff game to start. They could easily get that 2 spot, maybe even that 1 spot.
Lovely goes easily get the 2. Easily, Joe.
Of course
Easily.
they could, dude. They're gonna win the division, so right away they're gonna
Easily?
be top.
Easily though, the Niners and the
Easy.
Eagles.
Easy.
Yeah. Yes.
You think easy?
Yes, I think that's easy because it's a 3-team race. So, what other teams do you think are going to do it? Do you really think Dallas is going to catch Philly? No. So it's a 3-team race. So it comes down to 3 teams. So yeah, I'm going to say they easily have a good chance.
But
to
I
be
think
a
they
top
could
four.
be
Well,
like,
we could tell.
like
We've
an
seen
11-win
those two
team,
teams
but
play
I think
twice this
I think the
year,
Niners and Eagles are
Yeah.
both going to win 12-plus games.
I wouldn't be shocked if the Lions did either.
Yeah, but that's
They're
not,
in the- they're
I
in
don't,
the
I don't
trash
disagree,
division.
but I just hate that you use the word easily to get it too.
Oh, I'm sorry you hate it, but I easily don't care. But that's it on questions.
We got one more fantasy question from him. He
Okay.
wants to know who you guys would start at flex this week in a 1-flex league: Amari Cooper, Drake London, Jordan Addison, or Nico Collins.
Wait, say that again.
Amari Cooper, Drake London, Jordan Addison, Nico Collins.
I would say go with Cooper just because
Are the Browns at home?
he's the best out of there, and if PJ Walker's going to start again, he's been targeting him a lot more, so I would go Cooper. Because right now, Jordan Addison, like, he's had some big plays, but he doesn't get a ton of volume yet, so he seems like a
Well, we'll
touchdown-dependent
see.
guy.
It's only been one game.
Nico Collins has been very hot and cold. And, I mean,
Since
although that's
playing
basically been Amari
Green Bay.
Cooper's whole career. Yeah, but then
the
you'd
Browns
have
got
to
it.
think if Jair's playing,
Yeah,
which
definitely
then
not
he's going to
good.
get shadowed.
The Browns have Seattle, who's been, they've been kind of susceptible through the air.
Plus, both defenses, I can see that being sneaky high scoring because we've seen the Browns and Seahawks now
Oh,
let up bleed
you know what?
points, even though the Browns have good defense.
No, I'd go Nico Collins. They're playing the Panthers, bro. Nico Collins already has 29 for 547 and 3 touchdowns this year, and they're playing the worst team in the league. So I think it's a sneaky play, but I think Nico Collins can go for over 100 again.
Yeah, not bad. Not a bad pick.
All right, so that was it on questions.
Yes, sir.
So before we go to a quick ad read, I just want to highlight our parlay again. So for those of you that didn't take it or did take it, our legs this week, we hit Jalen Hurts over 261 passing yards. That was my pick.
Good pick, Reagan.
Colin had Kenneth Walker over 72.5 rushing
Lock.
yards. That hit.
Lock.
Yes, sir.
Joe over here had Saquon over 19.5 receiving yards.
Yes,
34-yard touchdown
then-
catch.
oh,
Let's
yeah.
And
go.
then Baldy, no. Drock had Josh Bomer over 46.5 receiving yards, which actually almost hit on
Yeah.
one catch because I think he had like a 40-something.
Yeah,
yard
yeah.
catch.
No, he had
a lot
like
of
I thought he had a
yards.
60-yard catch like,
Did
in
he?
the first
Yeah.
quarter.
Yeah, he had a
And
big
it's like
catch.
130 yards receiving.
Yeah, he had a great game. So that was honestly, really, none of it was a sweat. Hurts. There was a point
Towards
where we
the
weren't
end,
sure,
yeah.
but then he hit AJ Brown on a bomb, and then he ended up hitting by like 30 yards. So all of them hit by a decent amount of yards. So and that Around the Felt parlay is brought to you guys by Masterpiece Designs. If you can think it, we can make it. So we thought of the parlay, and then we made it. So we made some money on it. So
Absolutely.
thanks
That's-
again to those guys over there at Masterpiece Designs.
Shout out Ed doing
So-
our merch. Hopefully dropping into this week, if not next week. But we're very excited about that. Shout out to Ed.
Yeah, let's go to a quick ad read. What's up, guys? As we've been highlighting, we have merch coming out very soon. It's being made by Ed over at Masterpiece Designs. They've been doing everything we've asked for them. Quick turnaround. We have 2 different shirts we're making. The first Around the Felt shirt we've ever done. We're making a Drox Lock shirt. And we're making a hat as well, a trucker hat that Colin came up with. It's going to be an unbiased fan hat. So if you want all that stuff, just keep listening. It's going to be out soon. And once again, that's Masterpiece Designs. So you can check them out on Instagram. And they got a website where you can see all the cool stuff they've done. So thanks, guys. All right, guys, welcome back in. We had 13 games this week, so let's get right into it. But first, Colin wants to talk about our updated standings.
Yeah, so boys had a solid week. Reagan is 7-5, both straight up and against the spread before the Monday night game, in which he's on the Niners for both sides. I am 8-4 in both against the spread and straight up. I'm on Niners straight up, Minnesota spread tonight. So overall, a pretty solid week for us.
Yeah.
All right, and then we'll start with the Jacksonville Jaguars beating the Saints 31-24.
Yeah.
This was the game that I did the Blazing Challenge at, so I'm going to be honest with you, my mouth was on fire. I don't really see much of the first half.
Well, you didn't miss much. The first half was pretty.
Yeah, and then
got good
all
in
of
the
a
second
sudden, in the
half.
second half, we kind of thought the under was going to look pretty good, and who would have thought the Jaguars would hang 31 in the Saints defense?
Yeah. Not me. I mean, not a good showing for the Saints defense.
Yeah, they did pretty well stopping ETN like yards per carry wise, but ETN had another 2 touchdowns. That's now 3 weeks in a row that ETN scored 2 touchdowns.
Touchdown
Looks like
machine.
an absolute stud. Christian Kirk had that big touchdown, the eventual game winner in the fourth quarter, 6 for 90 and a touchdown. Lawrence is starting to play. I mean, this is kind of where he's been all year. Like around 200 yards, a touchdown. He's taking care of the ball. He's not lighting up the stat sheet, but he's playing really smart football, and it's helping them win games because the defense has played well. And your Saints, Reagan, I mean, Kamara had 12 catches for 91 yards, which was absolutely crazy, but the fact that you're dumping it off to Kamara so much is not a good sign for this offense long term.
No. I mean, it's good if you're a fantasy owner.
It is. It is if you're a fantasy owner because Kamara had 29 touches.
Yeah, I mean, you don't like to see all those dump offs, but I do get it at the end of the day because when you get the ball in his hands, he's always going to break the first tackle. He's electric when he has the ball in his hands.
Yeah.
One thing I'll say is I was shocked. The past 2 weeks, we've seen Taysom Hill very involved in the passing game.
Yeah, he had 5 carries on the ground. In the passing game, he had 4 catches for 50 yards
I'd
on
say
5 targets.
if you're in a fantasy league and you don't have one of the top tight ends, even if you do, he's got to be a must-pick-up tight end at this point. Got to be.
Because the offense is struggling.
Someone that gets
and he's a spark
rushing,
plug.
rushing and receiving work and like pretty
Wildcat
much guaranteed
quarterback.
at least one play in the goal line every single time. You have to pick him up. Even if you have Kelsey, pick him up. You could use him for the bye week or you could trade one of them. I mean, like, I'm not saying you have to trade away Kelsey, but I mean, definitely gives you flexibility. But he's a must pick up in my books. I picked him up in a couple leagues and he didn't disappoint. I mean, to be involved like that and the rushing upside, must pick up.
Yeah, if you're a Saints fan, you don't like the fact that Derek Carr has thrown the ball 55 times. That's not ideal.
Nope. They got to get the run game going.
And
haven't been able to.
I mean, honestly, him and Olave got to get on the same page. He had 15 targets, only 7 catches. There were a couple times where you could see Carr kind of yelling at Olave, like, what are you doing? He was giving up on his route. I don't know why. that's becoming a thing for Olave.
I don't understand why he yelled at him because the ball did sail like 10 yards out of bounds.
Yeah, like
He
that
stopped
ball.
running, though.
Yeah, but you almost like you have a chance at a PI or something. You gotta finish your routes because that's gonna lead to more turnovers. But yeah, I mean, the Saints team, Reagan, 3-4. Are you getting a little nervous? The 9.5.
No, because the schedule's still so easy.
Yeah, but you'd think every game they could win, they could lose.
Yeah, I mean,
they're
3-4. I mean, that doesn't give me a lot more flexibility. So they got to go. They got to go at least 7-3 in the next 10. So you don't love that, but at least the schedule's not difficult.
No, it's not. That whole
I mean,
division.
every game they got left is winnable. So
That whole division has.
and
a
you would
soft
have
schedule.
to think. I mean, the offense is starting to figure it out more and more every week. So you hope they continue to figure it out. And I think this is an outlier for the defense.
Yeah, I'd say it's an outlier as well. But if
But
you're a Jax
Jacksonville
fan,
looks
5-2, man, they look good. They look
Very good. Yeah, I didn't expect them to be the. I mean, I thought they were going to be good this year, but I didn't expect this good. So they're looking good.
Next, my New York Football Giants at home. I was there, 14-7. And Reagan, wasn't this the big bet of the week? So what do you have to do this week?
Yeah, I just get to hang out,
And I'm picking out a flotation device for you to cross the California River with.
Yeah,
At
that'll
the
be
end
an
of
interesting
October,
video.
so
It's gonna be chilly. I
It'll be
mean,
nice and brisk.
I'm gonna have to go in my room and do some digging for the bathing suits because I packed them up for what I thought was the end of my swimming for this year, but I guess not.
Fortunately, not, brother. And I got to figure out what device I want you to swim down the fucking river with.
You'll be
Yeah.
floating, not swimming.
Last time I go against Tyrod Taylor, wow.
Yeah,
I'll pay
Tyrod-
pennies, but not Taylor.
Tyrod played well again, man. 18-29 for 279, 2 touchdowns. The biggest thing was finding Jalen Hyatt in the deep ball. They completed 2 of them. They almost had another for a touchdown. Just that part of the offense has been something that's been missing for a few years. They didn't have that legit deep threat, and it really opens things up because then you can't stack the box on Barkley as much because every team's going to respect Barkley and they think, okay, we're not going to let Barkley beat us. These receivers need to beat us. And if Jalen Hyatt can be that downfield threat, it's absolutely huge. Darren Waller had his best game in blue, 7 for
Yeah, he
98, and a touchdown. The first touchdown scored on tight ends day, so I don't know if anyone saw that promo, betting like who the first touchdown would be.
Oh yeah.
I know my boy Drock almost took it at plus 1,600, and then he's sitting there in the stands. He's like, oh, I didn't fucking take it. Oh, poor little Drock.
Come on.
Barkley had 3
Silly
for 41 through the air for a touchdown, cashing Joe's leg of the parlay. He had 21 for 77 on the ground. Overall, a solid day, but to be honest with you, the Giants won this game because of their defense. The Commanders let up a lot of sacks, and Dexter Lawrence had 2.5, Kayvon Thibodeau had 1.5, Okereke had another big game, Deontay Banks had his first pick. He
And you
was
guys
locked
stopped
down.
the run game too. Washington
Yeah,
couldn't run at
they
all.
stopped the run game. Terry had 6 for 90, but he was shut down in the first half. It all kind of came in the second half. Him and Banks were jawing, going back and forth all game, and Terry's a legit receiver, so very happy for Banks. The Commanders fall to 3-4. Howell did not look that good. 22 of 42, 249 in a
Sacked
pick.
6 times. I mean, we knew there were going to be a lot of sacks. 10 sacks in this game in total. So
Yeah, it's
and
a
even
lot
that
of
I feel
sacks.
like isn't enough from what we've seen from these lines.
I will say the Giants' offensive line the last 2 weeks.
They're starting to figure it out.
Since I think his Pugh came in, he let up a sack yesterday. He's been good, but I think it's that veteran voice on the line because their offensive line is very
I think it's
young.
a combination of that, but I've also seen Tyrod. He's been very smart about getting rid of it. Not that Jones obviously gives you a lot more, but I think Jones holds on to it a little bit more and tries to make more plays. I feel like Tyrod's kind of just been doing the veteran thing of just not trying to do too much, so I think that's helped, but like you said, getting Pugh has definitely helped.
Yeah, and Glowinski, the right guard who got benched after week 1, was terrible. The last 2 weeks has a 97% pass block win rate, which is a big bounce back because he's another veteran, so they're really kind of stabilizing the line. And like you said, Tyrod did not put the ball in harm's way either the last
picks.
2 weeks. He's taking care of the ball. He's being smart.
279.
That's
a lot of
they have only scored 23 points the past 2 weeks. So
but they've been in both games. He hasn't done anything to hurt him.
He hasn't done anything to hurt him, and the defense is playing really well. So they're targeting Andrew Thomas to come back this week against the Jets. That would be huge.
Yeah,
Hopefully Jones can come back.
Our defensive front is crazy. So
you're
definitely going to need Andrew Thomas.
Definitely, if Thomas is back, that is a huge boost for this line. All right, let's move on. The Chicago Bears, who you had
that was my upset
pick of the week,
and it did not upset.
Dominated 30-12 behind Tyson Bagent. 21 of 29, only 162, but he scored a touchdown. He took care of the ball. Foreman had 3 touchdowns. I mean, I started him in fantasy in 2 leagues.
You mean
Scoreman? Scoreman.
He had a hell of a game.
He had a hell of a game. DJ Moore had 8 catches. If you're the Bears fan. I mean, people are starting to say, could Bagent replace Fields? No, dude. Let's relax. The Raiders aren't that good of a team.
He looked good.
And the Raiders did start Hoyer, and then O'Connell got in. Hoyer threw 2 picks. O'Connell threw a pick against the bad Bears defense. One thing is really surprising me, Reagan, is Jacobs only ran for 35 yards against a Bears defense that really isn't that good.
Yeah, I don't think he's got I don't know if it's hard to really judge it, but he's only averaging 2.9 yards a carry, so not good for the rushing
what's
leading
the difference from last year to this year?
I would say, I guess the quarterbacks,
right? Because they're definitely stacking the box more because
they don't have
Carr throws the ball downfield. Garoppolo was not doing that, and then now you have Hoyer in there, and no one's going to respect Hoyer.
Yeah, the quarterback being gone, Waller's gone, so it's another weapon, but for so far, if they keep Michael Myers looked like he could be something good, but still, I think the combination of losing Waller and Carr, that makes your offense a lot less dynamic, a lot easier to stack the box.
Yeah,
and plus, when he didn't practice all off season, he came in late, so he might be still trying to catch up and get in the full form.
That's a good point. Adams had 12 targets, 7 for 57.
Yeah, like the amount of catches, but you'd like more yards.
Like more yards, and he did say on Twitter, this week that he's like, I want to win, but I want to be a part of the win. I feel like we have a better chance when I'm getting involved. So they made a conscious effort to get him involved, but still not the production you want. Jacoby Myers scored another touchdown. He looks good in this Raiders offense.
Yeah, it was a huge ad for them. Yeah, and I'll say with the Bears, this team's interesting. This is a defense that looks bad pretty much all the time, but they've had a couple games this year where they've been stepping up, so we'll see. They got a Chargers team next week. I'm not going to say they can win that, but definitely a game that I think they should be in it for.
Well, the Chargers are sloppy. The Chargers play to their competition all the time, so I think that could be another game that comes down to the wire.
And it is in L.A., but like we've said, the Charger games are never really a home game, so.
Yeah. All right, next, the Browns beat the Colts in a crazy one, 39-38.
Yeah,
Browns are now 4-2, half game out from first place behind Baltimore. Colts 3-4. I was on the Colts straight up and against the spread. You were on Cleveland straight up and against the spread. So we split there because the Browns won the game straight up, but the Colts covered. And like you said, P.J. Walker, he didn't like the scoreboard up. His completion percentage was under 50%. He only threw for $178 and a pick. But Jerome Ford had a long touchdown.
But he left with an injury too.
Yeah, Hunt had 2 touchdowns. It was basically a shit show. I'm not going to lie. A shit show. But Myles Garrett had 2 sacks. He blocked a field goal. What do you think about this game, Reagan?
Well, I was kind of shocked with how bad the Browns defense looked. To allow 456 yards to a Colts offense. That's
crazy. Minshew threw for 305.
And Minshew hasn't looked amazing all year. And for 305 yards on 15 completions.
What the hell?
It wasn't even like 15 completions for 305 yards. Are you kidding me?
Well, it helps that Pittman had a 75-yard touchdown, and Josh Downs, I think, had a 59-yard touchdown as well.
Yeah, and the Taylor and Moss, a lot of that was like an even split down the middle. Both had 18 carries.
Yeah, Taylor had the touchdown and he averaged 1 more yard per carry, but they both
a lot more
were
efficient,
solid.
and more involved in the passing game. But looks like this is going to be like a 60-40 going forward. I mean, I don't know how you kick out Zach Moss.
Yeah, he's played so well. And is he still top 5 in the league in rushing?
I believe so. I mean, I'll check real quick. But he's got over 500 rushing yards already on the year. Yeah, he's second, only behind Christian McCaffrey. Second in the league in rushing right now. He's over Mostert, Etienne.
Who had that on their bingo card?
Not me. Maybe. No, definitely not.
Definitely not you.
Yeah,
the
remember
king of
I was
hot
saying
takes didn't even have that one.
Yeah, the king of hot takes. I had Najee, but not Zach Moss.
Yeah. Okay. Next, the Patriots, and probably the big upset of the week, beat the Bills 29-25.
Knocked out a lot of people in their survivor pools.
Yeah. I mean, good for me because I didn't touch them. I took Seattle.
I did not either.
We're sharps like that. No big
Oh
deal.
yeah, come on.
If you're a Patriots fan, Mac Jones. I mean, holy shit, 25 of 30 for 272 and 2 touchdowns. Where did that come from?
The media was fueling him.
Everyone
Everyone was writing him out.
He dispersed the ball a lot. Bourne had a lot of catches. DeMario Douglas had 4 for 54. Farrell Brown 2 for 51. Stevenson 6 for 51. I mean, my goodness.
And how about that? I mean, there was a minute 46 left in the game, and they were down 3. And Mac Jones let him downfield, and 2 minutes left in the game when he got the ball back. Let him downfield, scored a touchdown. Left Buffalo with 12 seconds left. So the fact that Mac Jones was able to lead a touchdown drive, because at that point all you need is a field goal to send it into overtime. But now Mac let him downfield, ran a perfect 2-minute drill, and scored against a good Buffalo defense.
Yeah, honestly, the Bills, they're kind of falling down.
They're
a
in
little
trouble.
bit. I mean,
they're in trouble, man. The past 3 weeks, they have not looked good.
They were 1 yard away from losing the Giants with that bullshit PI.
Yeah.
Patriots then come in and beat them. 2 teams that weren't good record-wise when they played Buffalo. They're a streaky team, man. Allen either looks like a world beater or he struggles. You know, it's I don't know. And with the injuries on the defensive side of the ball for the Bills,
Matt Milano,
if you're a Bills fan, you got to be concerned. You got to be.
I would be. How could you not be? I mean, you lost to Jacksonville. You almost lose to the Giants, and now you lose to the Patriots. And the Giants and Patriots are not good teams. Like, you're playing these teams. It's not even like they're losing to good teams right now. So if I'm a Bills fan, I'm concerned. This does not look like a Super Bowl winning team, let alone a Tier 2 team. Yeah. This looks like a team that's going to maybe get a wild. This doesn't even look like a playoff team right now.
Yeah, but if you want to look at something positive, your rookie Kincaid at 8 for 75, which is good. But like I said, the Bills falling down the face of the earth a little bit right now.
Yeah, definitely. We'll see. Long season, but... They definitely got to figure it out. I mean, and the Bucs are no stout. The Bucs, I mean, they got them on Thursday night. That's going to be an interesting game because
Bucs are a tough team. I mean, they play tough, but they're not necessarily the most talented team. You'd think the Bucs probably shouldn't hang with the Bills, but I mean, with the way both teams are playing, that just leads right in. The Bucs lose 16-13 to the Falcons, in which honestly they should have lost by more if Ritter didn't fumble.
Yeah,
twice, correct? He fumbled twice. The one went to the pylon.
Mm-hmm. 3 times.
3 fumbles.
All were lost, too.
Oh, my goodness.
So no picks for Ritter, but 3 fumbles.
I don't like Desmond Ritter. This guy's buns. He did go 19-25 for 250, but, those 3 fumbles, I still can't believe they won this game. Credit to their defense, playing well against the Bucs. And a lot of people were like, where the hell's Bijan Robinson? He got in at the end of the game, had 1 carry for 3 yards.
He got you 0.3
I mean, I started, and I was like, what the hell? I check at halftime, and I'm like, he hasn't even played. He doesn't even have a touch.
Well, I mean...
Apparently had a migraine.
Some of us called this before the season started. I told you Algier would be the lead back, so...
Oh, okay.
Well, I mean, Algier's got 96 carries this year. Bijan's got 81, so...
Depth chart.
Yeah, well, you know what helps
is
what helps yesterday is Algier got 21 carries to Bijan's 1. Algier averaged 2.8 yards per carry.
You know what really helps? Just looking at the off-season depth chart like we did, so...
Yeah,
I don't know what to tell you,
Joker ahead of him.
Yeah, it's just it's pretty clear Tyler Algier is just the better back.
Bijan had a headache, all right? You got to leave him alone.
Yeah, freaking headache, wow.
Yeah, London had 6 for 54.
I can't wait to tell my boss I can't come in today. I got a headache.
Drake London looked pretty good again, 6 for 54. Pitts had 3 for 47, but he was kind of saved that big 39-yard catch on the end of the game-winning drive where Koo kicked the game-winning field goal.
Yeah.
Bucks, I mean, on the ground they struggled again. White 13 for 34. Yeah, suck on that, Hafe. He sucks. I told you.
Yeah, well, he was 6 for 65 in the receiving game, so he still had a good game for fantasy.
Yeah, but you can't run the ball.
Yeah, but who cares? For fantasy, if my running back's getting 6 for 65, I mean, White's like a flex, but that's still a good week.
Yeah, I guess it's fine. Boy Baker, 27 of 42, 275, a touchdown and a pick. Evans looked pretty good. Godwin looked pretty good, but I don't know. This Bucs defense this Bucs team after being 3-1, they've now dropped 2 in a row, 3-3, but they're only half game back from Atlanta. Still.
Yeah, I mean that division's a 3-team race. I think that's going to come down to the wire because all of these teams have shown they can be good, and all of these teams have shown they can be bad. And I don't think any of them have been the clear like this team's better than the other two. I'd say they're all pretty much at the same level right now.
Yeah, they don't beat each other in any given week. Atlanta's 4-3, Tampa Bay's 3-3, New Orleans is 3-4. They'll all probably be around 500, and it's probably going to come down to tiebreakers on who wins the division game.
Yeah.
So this is a pretty big win for Atlanta, considering the Bucs are right up their ass in the division.
Yeah, no, definitely. It'll be interesting to see how it ends come to the end of the season.
Yeah. All right, next, Reagan. My Ravens beat the hell out of the Lions, 38-6.
Yeah, this had to be the biggest shocker of the week. Not the fact that the Ravens won, but just the fact that they won in this fashion. I mean, I didn't expect it. I don't think you expect. I mean, I know you expected the Ravens to win, but yeah. I mean,
I just thought it was a classic letdown game. Everyone starts anointing the Lions, one of the best teams in the league.
I mean, this was more than a letdown.
And just get
this was more of a letdown game.
Stomped by Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, this is bad. I mean, some positives for the Lions. I mean, Jahmyr Gibbs seems to be the real deal at this point. I mean, had a ton of volume this week. I mean, over 20 touches, 9 catches. You love to see that as you
if you have Jahmyr Gibbs in fantasy, this was the week you've been waiting for. Now it just sucks that Montgomery was out, so is that going to continue when Montgomery comes back?
Probably not.
Probably not. Amon-Ra did his thing, 13 for 102.
Mm-hmm. Laporta, game.
6 for 52. Something I was kind of disappointed with is James Williams on 6 targets didn't record a single catch. And for someone that's had him stashed in Dynasty for quite a while, I'm not too happy about that.
I wouldn't be. But something you should be happy about is your Ravens. I mean, freaking Lamar Jackson, that was your MVP before the season. 21 for 27, 357 and 3.
And then on the ground, 36 9 for 36 and another touchdown.
Yeah, crazy fantasy week.
See what happens when they actually catch the ball. I mean, good things happen. Good things happen. Gus Edwards had an 80-yard catch. Phenomenal. Then he had 14 for 64 on the ground for a touchdown.
An 80-yard catch for Gus Edwards is crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Like, nothing against Gus, but he doesn't exactly scream explosive guy.
No, he does not. But, Lamar spread the ball around. Zay, 4 for 75. Andrews, 4 for 63. And 2 touchdowns. Odell, 5 for 49. Good day for this Ravens team, man. Very good day. Even Kyle Van Noy came out and had 2 sacks.
The craziest thing is the Ravens only had 1 takeaway. Like, you'd think looking at the score, like, oh, crap, the Lions turned it over a bunch, but it was a pun fest.
Yeah, both teams sit at 5-2. I got Ravens over 9.5 to do a milk mile with Reagan. I think it'd be a lot funnier if Reagan did the milk mile than me, so.
I know, I actually think it would be a lot funnier if you did the milk mile than me.
Oh, really? That's what you think?
Yeah, I think so. Because I like laughing, so I don't like puking.
And running.
Yeah, it's gonna suck. It's gonna suck.
All right, Reagan, that wraps up the 1 o'clock slate. When we come back, we'll get into the other games.
Yeah.
What's up, guys? It's Colin here. If you haven't done so yet, check out the AroundTheFelt.com website. All of our punishments are up there. All of our videos are pods. Check out my Blazing Challenge punishment from last week. This week, we have Reagan floating down the Califon River. And we also have blogs up on there. I just wrote one about the top 10 MVP candidates heading to Week 7. If you haven't done so, please check that out. Let's get back to the episode. Welcome back in, everyone. Let's dive right into the Steelers beating the Rams 24-17. The Steelers are also a half game back of Baltimore now in the North, sitting at 4-2, while the Rams dropped to 3-4. Big thing with the Steelers team, man, is they're 4-2, and it's behind the back of their defense. The offense has been anemic, bottom 5 in the league all season, which is pretty crazy. But Pickett played pretty well yesterday, 17-25 for 230. No touchdowns, no picks. That's fine. Run game was all right with Najee and Warren. But, the big thing was George Pickens went 5 for 107, which is huge for this Pittsburgh
offense. Getting
Deontay
Johnson back's huge for this offense,
5 for 79.
Clearly, they were struggling a lot to pass, half because when you have one guy that can get open, it doesn't really help. And then, also, I think this offense is going to get better because Freiermuth was questionable throughout the week. He didn't suit up. So I think once they get him back, too, the Steelers team is going to get more dynamic on offense. So the fact that they're 4-2 with how bad their offense has looked, it's a good sign.
Yeah, and
Najee did look good in this game. So did Warren. They didn't run the ball a ton, but both guys looked good.
Both scored. And for once, usually when they win, they have more rushing attempts than they do when they do passing attempts. And they did today.
And they did, so that was huge. And the defense stepped up.
Defense did step up. TJ Watt had that pick on Stafford that we mentioned earlier. Stafford had a terrible game, 14 of 29 for 231, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. And the big thing was Cooper Kupp was held to his lowest yards in the past 4 years, which was also against Mike Tomlin when he got shut down 3 years ago. 2 for 29 on 7 targets. And that's how it became a Puka Nacua game, 8 for 154 on 12 targets.
How about that? Yeah, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty disappointed as someone has Cooper Kupp in many leagues. I kind of lost because of him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And Darrell Henderson, I guess, is the guy that's stepping in for Kyron Williams. I picked him up in a couple leagues. It was one of those things where everyone was debating back and forth who was going to be the guy. The big pickup was Zach Evans.
And he didn't even get a carry?
Didn't even have a carry. So it was all Darrell Henderson and Royce Freeman. Darrell Henderson, they picked him up coming into the week. Everyone was like, oh, well, we don't know. It could be Gaskin. It could be Freeman. Henderson was the guy. Freeman was the second guy. So I guess this week, Henderson's probably on a lot of waivers still since they only activated him on Sunday morning. So
yeah, 18 for 6.
I say he's probably one of the biggest must-pick-ups right now.
Yeah, Freeman had 12 touches. He was more efficient, but
Henderson had the bulk of the work and had the touchdown, so yeah.
Yeah, but still, it could be tough to kind of figure out that.
Yeah,
backfield.
but what we do know is Kyron's on IR for the next 3 games since this was his first one, so.
Yeah. All right, next, the Seahawks beat the Cardinals 20-10. Seahawks improved to 4-2. While the Cardinals go to 1-6. The Cardinals are who we thought they were. This was my survivor pool pick. Did you take this? No, you took.
I had 2. So the Seahawks were one, and the Steelers was the other. The Steelers was my risky one, and the Seahawks was my chalky one. So both came through.
Yeah, Seattle really. Geno played well, 18 of 24, 2 touchdowns. Did have 1 pick, but Kenneth Walker 26 for 105 on the ground.
Yeah.
My leg of the parlay. Let's go. No. DK Metcalf for the Seahawks today got ruled out like 20 minutes before the game.
We finally got to see JSN kind of have a good game.
Scores a touchdown. You love to see it.
You do, because he was a guy that was highly touted coming into the draft and went into a situation where it was probably going to take a year or 2 to really fully see his potential. So this is a good game for those of you that decided to take him in Dynasty over guys like Addison, Johnston. Well, Johnston sucked, but I mean, there are people that probably took him over a lot of those Zay Flowers and Addison. So this is a good game that kind of makes you not regret that decision.
Absolutely. And another thing, Tyler Lockett only had 4 for 38. He's kind of taken a step back this season compared to what we've seen him because he's been very solid the past 6 or 7 years.
27 for 289 and 2 in 6 games.
Yeah, I believe he's been a top 24 fantasy wide receiver the past 7 years.
I'm not going to count him out because he always comes through, and I think we still have some big Tyler Lockett games throughout the season because it seems like it always happens that way. But yeah, you'd like to see more of Lockett.
Absolutely. We were both on. No, you actually had Arizona covering.
Correct? Did I? No.
Oh, no, you had Seattle.
I had Seattle covering.
You had Seattle. We both had Seattle covering and winning. So
we were both pretty confident in Seattle.
Yeah.
Next up, Drock's lock of the week, the Broncos, straight up.
I was on Packers,
they got it done.
And then when Drock Lock took the Broncos, I was like, I'm switching. I'm
not
fading Drock Lock, and thank God I did. They won 19-17.
Yeah, Drock. Will Lutz came through for Drock pretty much, making 4 field goals for this Broncos team.
It wasn't sexy.
No,
but
it wasn't.
At least the defense played pretty well. I mean, they picked off Jordan Love at the end of the game to seal it. Love struggled again, 21-31 for a $180, 2 touchdowns in that pick. Not good for the Packers, man. They dropped 3 in a row. They now fall to 2-4.
Yeah.
What's interesting is A.J. Dillon almost doubled the amount of carries as Aaron Jones. Not
I think half of that is because Jones is still not 100%.
It's just weird because they were coming off the bye week too.
Yeah, I just don't think he's 100% yet, and they're not trying to kill the guy because I mean they still do have playoff aspirations. Whether or not we think they can get there, I mean I don't think they want to worry about re-injuring Jones by giving him the full workload. I expect that to change going forward. But also, Dillon was pretty effective today.
Yeah, he ran for over 4 per carry.
So he was solid. He's a grinder.
Had a 29-yard catch as well. On the Broncos side, I don't think this win changes the outlook for this team. I think, although Sutton went for 676 and a touchdown, Judy had 5 for 64. I could see either one or both being moved.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely a good game for Javonte. You like to see him.
It's a positive, recovering
15
from
for
that
82 and 3 for 14. So you like to see that if you took the shot on him. I mean he's
gets a tough defense as well.
Yeah,
tough defense.
So I think he'll only get better as the season goes on. And McLaughlin's still involved a lot. I mean he was only 5 for 45 on the ground and 1 for 1 in yards. But I think once P. Ryan's gone, which I expect him to be gone, I think McLaughlin's role will continue to grow. But the wide receivers, I just still think at least one of them gets traded at the deadline.
Yeah, I mean, Drock Lock improves to 5-1.
Yeah.
Good shit, Drock.
What a storyline.
What a storyline. Who would have thought? Not me.
Not me either.
but I love it.
You've been
I'm digging
fading
it.
Drock. You're losing your home right now.
Yeah,
That's
you gotta
crazy.
stop. You gotta stop fading. I do know some people that fade. You gotta stop fading. This guy's a machine.
You actually do know people that have been fading?
Yeah, I do. And I do know
messed up.
people that have texted me. Shout out Mark Cahill, going, Drock. Tell Drock. Thank you for winning me money again because I took the Broncos. So
Let's go.
let's go. See, those are the OG fans, the real fans. We appreciate that. Next, the Chiefs beat the Chargers 31-17. Mahomes improves to 29-4 against his own division.
What a game for him, huh?
Oh my goodness, 32 of 42 for 424, 4 touchdowns and a pick, and Kelsey went 12 for 179 and a touchdown. I believe he had 148 yards in the first half.
Both of them. Yeah, Mahomes had a crazy game, and Kelsey almost set the record for most receiving yards by a tight end. I mean, he was 35 yards short, and I think he could have got it.
Shannon Sharp had 214.
It was weird though because the Chiefs were so dominant in the first half, and it just seemed like they kind of coasted to the victory.
Yeah, they
the
did.
offense kind of just was taking what they were given, and just kept punting it and just relied on the defense.
It was a 24-17 game at half, and then the Chiefs scored 1 touchdown in the fourth quarter, the remainder of the game, which was, fairly interesting. I believe the over/under was set at 52 and it ended at 48, so everyone...
No, it was set at 48.5, so it actually did.
No way.
Yeah, so I don't know.
So the under hit, it was 48.
The under hit, yeah. I would be
crazy.
pissed if I touched that.
That's crazy. This was a vintage Mahomes game, though. I mean, obviously Kelsey being the big play guy, but spread the ball around. MVS had a touchdown at 84 yards. Rashee Rice, who's looked like the best of the young receivers for the Chiefs thus far this year, had 5 for 60 and a touchdown, and Pacheco had 28 yards and a touchdown through the air on top of 32 yards on the ground, which, I'd actually expect them to run the ball better on this LA Chargers defense, but hey, you didn't really need to. The Chargers led the most passing yards in the league so far this year.
Yeah.
I'd imagine after Mahomes threw for 424, that is still the case.
They probably got a bigger lead on that, yeah.
Yeah, so Chargers are in trouble, man. They have so much talent, but they just play sloppy football. I think Staley is on his last legs as the head coach of the Chargers.
100%. If they don't make the playoffs, he's out. He's got to be out.
100%, he's got to be out.
Because after the first year, they miss it off of him trying to get greedy, and then the next year they lose in the first round after blowing a huge lead, and then they miss it going into year 3 with Herbert. He's gone for sure if they don't make it.
Because you're wasting the window of Herbert's prime years.
Yeah.
This team has too much talent on both sides of the ball.
And for a defensive coach with some of the names they got to be this bad on defense, I mean, what the hell is he doing?
And you bring in J.C. Jackson after he was a stud, and then he becomes terrible in your defense. What's the problem there?
You got guys like Bosa and Mack.
Doesn't look like the same player.
Yeah.
Mack, he had 6 sacks in one game, but if you take that one game out, I don't know. The Chargers are absolutely in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
All right, the game of the week, the Sunday Night Football game, the Eagles beat the Dolphins 31-17. Eagles improved to 6-1. Dolphins 5-2. Reagan and I were both heavily on the Eagles for this one.
Yeah, I said it was going to be double digits for the Eagles, and it didn't.
And it was. It was. The boys stayed hot.
The Dolphins hung around for a while, but the Eagles showed they were the better team, and the Dolphins kind of showed they beat up on the bad teams, and once they play actual competition, they can't get it done. I'm not saying the Dolphins are frauds, but I'm definitely saying I'm not fully bought into this team until they go out and beat a good team, because so far they've beaten 5 bad teams, and then the 2 teams they've lost to are teams that are going to be in the playoffs. So if they get to the playoffs, or I guess because they beat the Chargers, but
they beat the Chargers. Now the Chargers sit at 2-4.
Yeah, proven to be not a good team.
Yeah. Tua had another. This actually was a pretty bad game for him.
Yeah.
216, a touchdown, and a pick, and the big thing was he was sacked 3 times, which he hasn't been getting sacked all season. That Eagles front was able to get home. Mostert was pretty much shut down. 9 for 45.
They couldn't run the ball 12 times.
He had a 21-yard carry. You take that away. Very inefficient. And they were just chucking it all game. Tyreek had 11 for 88 and a touchdown, which if you think if Tyreek Hill... Yeah, but if you think if Tyreek Hill is having 11 catches, he's usually pushing almost 200 yards. So the Eagles did a pretty good job containing him.
How about that? Yeah, Tyreek Hill, through 7 games, is already at 53 catches for 902 yards and 7 touchdowns.
Yeah,
averaging 17 yards a catch.
You got to think if he wants to stay on pace for 2K, hopefully he has over 100 yards next week. Then he's got 1,000 through 8 games. That's not out of the question.
Yeah, no, he's definitely over pace right now.
That was a nice touchdown catch he had too. That was a clean route and ran right by him.
Yeah, and he almost he could have had a second, but he dropped it.
Yeah.
He had a walk-in touchdown that he dropped.
Very unlike Tyreek Hill. On the Eagles side, Hurts cashes Reagan's leg, throwing for 279, 2 touchdowns, and he did have that pick 6. Eagles were...
Yeah, honestly, if he doesn't throw that pick 6, then it's even more of a blowout.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you think about it, the top offense in the league scored 1 touchdown against the Eagles.
That is crazy.
Like, we were talking about how good this offense has been. Like, you see 17 points, you're like, that's not that bad. They put up 10 points, this offense. Like, that's not good.
Very unlike them. A.J. Brown, oh my goodness, man.
He's good.
Fifth week in a row with 125 or more receiving yards.
Yeah, he's at 52 for 809 on the year. That's sneaky. You don't even realize, like, he's been... I guess because when Tyreek's got 900, like, we'd be talking about A.J. Brown right now if Tyreek wasn't doing the Tyreek things right now.
It's crazy. He had 137 and a touchdown. I actually have an interesting question for you. I saw Chris Sims said this on Twitter. He said best 3 receivers in football right now. Tyreek, Jefferson, A.J. Brown. You disagree. You think Chase is in that top 3, correct?
Yeah, I mean it's kind of hard, and it's even hard to take out Kupp. Like I don't fully know my top 3 right now, but it's hard for me to just like rule out Chase and Kupp because Kupp's while he's been injured this year, I mean he still was a Triple Crown winner, and obviously he had a dud last week, but his first game back he looked like a beast. So I don't know. I'm not fully ready to just crown in Diggs too. There's just so many guys that you can make a case for. I don't know if I could just put Brown over guys like Diggs, Chase, and Kupp.
It's fair. I mean, pick your poison, right? I think Tyreek Hill's definitely in that top 3.
Yeah, and even Jefferson, like...
Jefferson's hurt right now, but
like, am I going to, like, say for certain that he's better than any of the other guys? It's tough. I mean, Tyreek's the only guy I could say for certain is in there.
Yeah, it's a very interesting conversation. But if A.J. Brown keeps going for $125 every game,
yeah,
he's certainly making the case for it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man. We were both on the Eagles. I thought it was a slam dunk for them at home. Everyone's anointing the Dolphins as his elite team.
Yeah, I don't.
And the Eagles haven't even put it all together, and they sit at 6-1, and they just beat down a really good Dolphins team.
Yeah, that's probably the first game where you could actually say like they put it all together.
Yeah, it's a scary team.
Yeah, because outside of that, they haven't looked amazing all season, but this is the first game where you came out of being like they looked like that dominant team we saw in the Super Bowl last year. So if this is the Eagles team we get the rest of the season, a lot of these teams are going to be in trouble.
100%. And we'll see how the Niners look tonight, Reagan, when they play the Vikings. See if they can keep track with the Eagles, go to 6-1.
Yeah, that'll be an
fight
interesting
for the
game.
NFC one seed.
That'll be interesting to break that game down on Wednesday because we'll have some more clarity with kind of how the NFC is shaping up.
Absolutely.
But, I mean, that's all I got. You got anything else? I mean, we're going to be filming the video of me riding along the river at some point this week, so check that out on social media and YouTube.
Merch coming.
Merch will be coming soon. As you can see, we had kind of a sample built here. This was made by Ed and Masterpiece Design, so this is going to be the logo on one of the shirts. Little teaser. But, so be out on the lookout for that. Colin's going to continue to put out blogs, so make sure you check out our website and check us out on all of our socials. It's around the felt on all the platforms. So
appreciate the support, guys. We'll see you Wednesday.